I spotted the first camera on a Tuesday morning while dusting the bookshelf in my living room. It was tiny, no bigger than a button, tucked behind my late husband's photo. The lens caught the light for just a second, and my hand froze. I'm 68 years old, not blind. I know what a hidden camera looks like. My daughter Brittany had installed it 3 days earlier when she'd visited, insisting on helping me organize. She'd spent an hour fussing with the bookshelves while I made tea, and now I knew why. I didn't touch the camera. I didn't say a word. I just kept dusting, humming softly like I hadn't noticed a thing. My heart pounded, but my face stayed calm. After Harold died 2 years ago, Brittany started visiting more often, but not because she missed me. She wanted something. I could see it in her eyes, in the way she looked around my house like she was appraising furniture. Now she was watching me. The question was why. I set down my dust cloth and walked to the kitchen, making sure to shuffle my feet a little, like my knees hurt. If Brittany wanted a performance, I'd give her one. That afternoon, I searched the house carefully. I found 4 more cameras. One in the kitchen, hidden in the decorative fruit bowl. One in my bedroom, tucked into the smoke detector. One in the hallway, inside the thermostat. And one in the bathroom, disguised as an air freshener. 5 cameras total, all positioned to watch me constantly. My hands shook as I made the discovery, but I was careful not to look directly at any of them. I pretended to be doing normal things, putting away dishes, folding laundry, checking the mail. Inside, I was furious. What kind of daughter spies on her own mother? But I'd been married to Harold for 43 years. He taught me patience. He taught me to think before reacting. So I thought. Brittany was 36 years old, married to a man named Austin who worked in sales and spent money like it grew on trees. They lived in a house they couldn't afford, drove cars on lease, and took expensive vacations they posted all over social media. 6 months ago, Brittany asked to borrow $20,000. I said no. Since then, her visits increased. Her concern for my health and memory became a constant topic. Now I understood. I called my lawyer the next morning from my cell phone in the backyard, away from the cameras. His name was Bernard Walsh, and he'd handled Harold's estate after he died. Bernard, I need to see you privately, I said. Today if possible, and I need you to not mention this to anyone. He heard something in my voice. I can meet you for lunch at Miller's Diner at noon. Is everything all right, Helen? I'll explain when I see you, I said. At Miller's Diner, I sat in the back booth and told Bernard everything. About the cameras, about Brittany's behavior, about the loan request. He listened, his face growing more serious with each detail. Helen, do you have any memory problems? Any confusion? Anything Brittany could point to as evidence you're not competent? None, I said firmly. I balance my checkbook every week. I take my medications on time. I drive. I shop. I volunteer at the library twice a week. My doctor just gave me a clean bill of health at my annual checkup last month. Bernard nodded. Then she's building a case. She wants to have you declared incompetent so she can get power of attorney or guardianship. That would give her control of your finances and property. My stomach dropped. The house is worth $400,000. Harold's life insurance and our savings are another $300,000. She wants it all. Not just once. Bernard said carefully. She's actively working toward it. The cameras are gathering footage. She'll edit together clips that make you look confused or forgetful. Then she'll petition the court, saying you can't care for yourself. I sat back, feeling sick. What can I do? Bernard pulled out a legal pad. First, don't let her know you found the cameras. Keep acting normal. Second, I'm going to arrange for you to have a full competency evaluation with a neurologist and a psychiatrist. We'll document that you're completely sound. Third, we'll investigate your finances. If she's already stolen anything, we need proof. He paused. And fourth, you're going to keep a detailed journal. Every interaction with Brittany, every conversation, every visit, dates, times, what was said. Can you do that? I thought about Harold, about the life we built together, about the house we bought 40 years ago and paid off with hard work. I thought about Brittany as a little girl before greed changed her. Yes, I said, I can do that. Over the next 2 weeks, I played my part perfectly. When Brittany visited, I acted just slightly off. I'd forget a name here and there, something small and believable. I'd ask her to repeat things, squint at labels like I couldn't see well, shuffle around like I was unsteady. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to make her think the cameras were catching what she wanted. Meanwhile, I took detailed notes. On September 8th, Brittany visited and suggested I should think about moving to a senior community. Just for safety, Mom. You're alone in this big house. On September 12th, she brought paperwork for me to sign, saying it was just to update my will. I pretended to be confused by the legal language, and she left frustrated when I wouldn't sign. On September 15th, she asked again about giving her access to my bank accounts in case of emergency. I wrote it all down, every word, every date. Bernard arranged my evaluations. The neurologist, Dr. Hoffman, put me through 3 hours of cognitive testing. Memory, problem solving, spatial awareness, language. I scored in the 92nd percentile for my age group. The psychiatrist, Dr. Lee, did 2 sessions. Her conclusion: completely competent, no signs of dementia, depression, or impaired judgment. While I played confused on camera, Bernard investigated my finances. What he found made my blood run cold. Over the past 8 months, Brittany had been forging checks from my checkbook. Small amounts at first, 200 here, 300 there, that I might not notice. Then larger ones, 1,500, 2,500. In total, she'd stolen $42,000. Bernard showed me copies of the checks, obtained from my bank. Brittany's signature was crude, but she'd practiced my handwriting enough to fool a casual glance. "This is felony theft," Bernard said. "Combined with the cameras and the guardianship attempt, we have her on multiple charges." "What do we do?" I asked. "We wait," he said. "She's going to petition the court soon. I can feel it. When she does, we'll be ready." 3 days later, Brittany called. "Mom, I'm worried about you. I think we need to talk to a doctor about your memory. I've noticed you getting confused, forgetting things. Austin and I think it might be time to get some help." I took a breath. "What kind of help, honey?" "Legal help. Someone to manage your finances, make sure your bills are paid, that sort of thing. Just until you're feeling better." There it was. "Let me think about it," I said softly. Brittany didn't wait for me to think. 2 weeks later, Bernard called. She filed a petition for emergency guardianship. "The hearing is in 10 days. She submitted a stack of affidavits claiming you're incompetent, plus edited video footage from the cameras." I felt a chill run down my spine. "What does the footage show?" "You looking confused, asking repetitive questions, appearing unsteady. She edited it to remove context and make you look worse than you are. She also has a statement from Austin backing her up, claiming he's witnessed your decline." I closed my eyes. "What happens at the hearing?" "Brittany will present her case. You'll be there. The judge will evaluate the evidence and decide if you need a guardian." "But Helen..." Bernard's voice became firm. "We're going to destroy her case. I have Dr. Hoffman's evaluation, Dr. Lee's psychiatric assessment, your medical records, and I'm subpoenaing your bank records to show the theft." He paused. "But I need your permission to do something else. I want to hire a private investigator to document Brittany's lifestyle, her spending habits, her debts. It'll cost about $3,000. "Do it," I said. "Whatever it takes." The investigator, a woman named Julie Brooks, worked fast. Within a week, she had a complete financial profile of Brittany and Austin. Julie's report was damning. Brittany and Austin were $78,000 in credit card debt. Their mortgage was 3 months behind. Austin's car had been repossessed 2 months ago. They'd taken out a personal loan at 23% interest and already missed 2 payments. They were drowning, and they saw my money as the only lifeline. Julie also found something else. Brittany had already contacted a real estate agent about selling my house. She'd sent emails asking about market value, how quickly it could close, whether she could sell it on behalf of her mother who has dementia. The real estate agent, thinking he was helping, had sent back a detailed analysis. The house could sell for $425,000 in the current market. Brittany had replied, "Perfect. I should have power of attorney within the month." Bernard made copies of everything: the emails, the financial records, the forged checks, the camera footage showing when Brittany installed the cameras. We had a mountain of evidence. "The hearing is in 3 days, Bernard said during our final meeting. "Are you ready?" I thought about Harold, about the life we'd built, about the daughter I'd raised and loved. Yes, I said. I'm ready. The night before the hearing, Brittany called. Mom, tomorrow is really important. The judge just wants to make sure you're okay. Just answer his questions honestly, all right? I will, honey, I said, my voice soft and uncertain. That's all I've ever done. The courtroom was small, wood-paneled, with afternoon light streaming through high windows. I arrived with Bernard at exactly 2 p.m. Brittany was already there with Austin and her lawyer, a man named Mr. Stevens who looked expensive. Brittany wore a navy dress and pearls, the picture of a concerned daughter. She smiled at me sadly like I was already lost. Hi, Mom, she said, taking my hand. How are you feeling? A little confused, honey, I said, playing my role one last time. What are we doing here again? Her smile widened. Don't worry, we're just talking to the judge. Everything's going to be fine. We sat down. The judge, an older man named Judge Patterson, reviewed the paperwork. This is a hearing regarding a petition for emergency guardianship, he began. Miss Brittany Morrison is petitioning for guardianship of her mother, Helen Crawford, on the grounds of incompetence. Miss Morrison, please present your case. Brittany's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, we have substantial evidence that Mrs. Crawford is no longer capable of managing her own affairs. We've documented repeated instances of confusion, memory loss, and poor judgment. He pulled out a tablet and played the edited video footage. On screen, I looked confused and frail, asking the same questions multiple times, appearing unsteady. The video was convincing, I had to admit. Brittany had edited it skillfully, removing all context, making me look like I was losing my mind. Judge Patterson watched carefully. Do you have additional evidence? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Stevens handed over affidavits. Mrs. Crawford's daughter and son-in-law have both witnessed her decline over the past 6 months. She forgets conversations, can't manage her finances, and recently got lost driving to the grocery store she's been going to for 30 years. That last part was a complete lie, but Brittany nodded along seriously. We're very worried about her safety, Brittany said, her voice breaking slightly. We just want to help her. Judge Patterson turned to me. Mrs. Crawford, do you understand why you're here today? I started to answer, but Bernard stood up. Your Honor, before Mrs. Nett Crawford responds, I'd like to present evidence on her behalf. Judge Patterson raised an eyebrow. You're representing Mrs. Crawford? I am, and with your permission, I'd like to call Dr. Nathan Hoffman to testify. For the first time, Brittany looked uncertain. Who's that? She whispered to her lawyer. Dr. Hoffman entered and was sworn in. Bernard walked him through his credentials, then asked, Dr. Hoffman, did you evaluate Helen Crawford? I did, 3 weeks ago, comprehensive neurological and cognitive testing. And what were your findings? Bernard asked. Dr. Hoffman pulled out his report. Mrs. Crawford scored in the 92nd percentile for cognitive function in her age group. Her memory is excellent. Her problem-solving skills are sharp. She showed no signs of dementia, confusion, or impairment of any kind. The courtroom went quiet. Brittany's face went pale. In your professional opinion, Bernard continued, is Helen Crawford competent to manage her own affairs? Absolutely, Dr. Hoffman said firmly. She's one of the most mentally sharp patients I've evaluated this year. Mr. Stevens jumped up. Your Honor, this evaluation was clearly arranged by the defense. It's biased. I'm a neurologist with 30 years of experience, Dr. Hoffman said coldly. I don't falsify medical evaluations. Mrs. Crawford is completely competent. Bernard then called Dr. Lee, who gave similar testimony. No signs of depression, anxiety, or impaired judgment. Mrs. Crawford is fully capable of making her own decisions. Judge Patterson looked at Brittany. Ms. Morrison, your evidence seems to contradict these medical professionals. Can you explain that? Brittany stammered. I don't know. Maybe Mom was having a good day when she was tested, but at home she's constantly confused. Your Honor, Bernard interrupted. May I present additional evidence? Judge Patterson nodded. Bernard pulled out a folder. These are photographs of hidden cameras installed in Mrs. Crawford's home without her knowledge or consent. He laid out the photos on the table. Each one showed a camera location. Behind the photo, inside the smoke detector, in the fruit bowl. Mrs. Crawford discovered these cameras 2 weeks ago. She didn't remove them. Instead, she contacted me, and we began an investigation. Brittany's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, monitoring an elderly parent is not illegal. My client was concerned. Let me finish, Bernard said. Mrs. Crawford knew about these cameras, and she's been performing for them. He turned to me. Helen, would you like to tell the judge what you've been doing? I stood up, and my entire demeanor changed. My voice became clear and strong. Your Honor, I discovered the cameras on September 7th. I realized my daughter was trying to gather evidence against me, so I pretended to be confused on camera while documenting her behavior in detail. I have a journal of every visit, every conversation, every time she pressured me to sign documents or give her access to my money. I pulled out my journal and handed it to the judge. I also authorized my lawyer to investigate my finances. We discovered that Brittany has been forging checks from my account for the past 8 months. Bernard laid out copies of the forged checks. $42,000, Your Honor, stolen over time using forged signatures. Judge Patterson's expression darkened. He examined the checks, comparing the signatures. Brittany's face was now bright red. I didn't. We have handwriting analysis, Bernard said calmly. The signatures are forgeries, poor ones. He then pulled out Julie's investigator report. We also have evidence that Miss Morrison contacted a real estate agent about selling her mother's house before she even had guardianship. She sent emails stating she would have power of attorney within the month. He read the email aloud. Judge Patterson looked at Brittany with disgust. Miss Morrison, did you forge checks from your mother's account? She gave me permission, Brittany started. I never gave her permission, I said clearly. I have never signed a check made out to her or Austin. Every one of those signatures is forged. Did you install hidden cameras in your mother's home without her consent? Judge Patterson asked. Brittany looked at her lawyer desperately. He shook his head slightly, knowing the game was over. I was trying to help her, Brittany said weakly. She needed someone to watch over her. By stealing from her? Judge Patterson's voice was ice. By lying to this court? By attempting to seize control of her assets under false pretenses? He closed the file. This petition is denied. Mrs. Crawford is clearly competent. Furthermore, I'm referring this case to the District Attorney's Office for investigation of elder abuse, fraud, and perjury. Brittany burst into tears. Mom, please. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. You meant every bit of it, I said quietly. You needed money, and you decided to take mine by force. You were willing to have me declared incompetent, to lock me away, to steal everything your father and I built. I'm your daughter, Brittany sobbed. Doesn't that mean anything? It used to, I said. Before you put cameras in my house, before you forged my name 42 times, before you tried to convince a judge I'd lost my mind. Judge Patterson stood. Miss Morrison, you're to have no contact with your mother. A restraining order will be issued today. You will also be required to repay the $42,000 you stole. If you fail to cooperate with the district attorney's investigation, you will face criminal charges. He looked at me. Mrs. Crawford, I apologize that you had to go through this. Your daughter's behavior is reprehensible. Thank you, Your Honor, I said. As Brittany was escorted out, still crying, Austin followed her without looking at me once. He'd known, he'd supported it. They'd planned it together. Bernard squeezed my shoulder. You did great, Helen. I felt exhausted, relieved, and heartbroken. What happens now? Now you go home, Bernard said. You live your life, and you let the legal system handle Brittany. I walked out of that courtroom into bright sunshine, free. The restraining order was finalized within 48 hours. Brittany was prohibited from contacting me, coming to my house, or attempting to access my finances. The district attorney, a sharp woman named Amanda Foster, called me 3 days later. Mrs. Crawford, we're pursuing charges against your daughter for forgery, attempted fraud, and elder abuse. We have more than enough evidence. I wanted to let you know you'll need to testify. I will, I said. Whatever you need. Amanda paused. I should also tell you, we looked into your son-in-law, Austin. He has a gambling problem. That's where most of their debt came from. Online poker, sports betting. He lost over $60,000 in the last year alone. That explains so much. Are you charging him too? Yes. He co-signed some of the forged checks and helped plan the guardianship scheme. He'll face charges as well. Over the next few weeks, my life slowly returned to normal. I removed all the cameras from my house and had Bernard store them as evidence. I changed my locks, updated my bank security, and moved my savings to a new account Brittany couldn't access. I also did something else. I called my son, James. He lived in California, and we drifted apart over the years. I told him everything. "Mom, I'm so sorry," James said, his voice thick with emotion. "I should have been there." "You have your own life, honey," I said, "but I'd like to see you more often if that's possible." James flew out the next week. He was 40 now, married to a kind woman named Natalie, with 2 kids I barely knew. We spent 3 days together, and it felt like healing. "Brittany always resented me," James said one evening as we sat on my porch. "She thought you and Dad favored me, but that wasn't true. We just had different values. I didn't need your money, so I never asked for it." "I know," I said, "and I'm proud of you for that." James looked at the house. "This place is worth a lot, Mom. Have you thought about what you want to do with it eventually?" "I have," I said. "I'm gonna live here as long as I can. Then it goes to you and your kids. Brittany won't get a penny. I'm rewriting my will to make sure of that." A month later, the criminal case moved forward. Brittany's lawyer negotiated a plea deal. She would plead guilty to forgery and attempted fraud, repay the $42,000 in restitution, serve 2 years of probation, and complete community service. If she violated probation, she'd go to prison for 5 years. Austin got a similar deal. They both accepted. The day they signed the plea agreement, Bernard called me. "It's over, Helen. She can't hurt you anymore." But it wasn't quite over. Brittany still owed me $42,000, and she had no way to pay it. Their house went into foreclosure 2 months later. They moved into a small apartment in a cheaper part of town. Austin got a second job at night. Brittany took work as a waitress. I heard about it through James, who kept loose tabs on his sister despite everything. "She's struggling," James said. "They're barely making rent." "I don't wish them harm," I said honestly. "But I don't feel sorry for her either. She made her choices." What I did feel was free. For the first time in 2 years, since Harold died, I felt like myself again. I started going to my book club again, volunteering more at the library, even taking a watercolor painting class at the senior center. I made new friends. I traveled to visit James and his family in California for Thanksgiving. I lived. 6 months after the hearing, I was organizing Harold's old office when I found a letter he'd written to me before he died. It was dated 2 months before his heart attack, sealed in an envelope marked, "For Helen, open after I'm gone." I'd missed it in my grief. I opened it with shaking hands. "My dearest Helen," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone and I'm so sorry to leave you, but I need to tell you something important. I know Brittany has a problem. I know she sees us as a bank, not as parents." The letter continued. "I've watched her ask you for money over and over, and I've watched you say yes because you love her. But Helen, she won't change until she faces real consequences. When I'm gone, she'll come after you harder. She'll see you as vulnerable. Please, please don't let her take advantage of you. You're stronger than you think. Stand up to her. Protect what we built together." Tears ran down my face. Harold had known. He'd seen Brittany's nature clearly and tried to warn me. "I'm leaving everything to you," the letter said, "because I trust you to use it wisely. If Brittany proves herself worthy someday, you can choose to help her. But don't let her bully you. Don't let her steal from you. You deserve better than that." The letter ended. "Live your life, Helen. Travel, make friends, be happy. You've earned it. I love you always. Harold." I folded the letter carefully and put it in my safe deposit box. Harold had given me permission to protect myself, and I had. I wished he could see me now, standing strong. I think he'd be proud. That evening I sat down and wrote my new will with Bernard. James would inherit the house and most of my savings. Harold's veterans benefits and my pension would fund a scholarship at the local library for students pursuing education degrees. I set up a small trust, $10,000, that Brittany could access only if she completed financial counseling and stayed out of legal trouble for 5 consecutive years. "That's generous," Bernard said when I told him about Brittany's trust. "More generous than she deserves." "It's not for her," I said. "It's for me. So I can sleep at night knowing I gave her one last chance to prove she's better than her worst choices." The scholarship fund felt right. Harold had always believed in education, and the library had been my refuge after he died. Using some of our money to help young people felt like honoring both of us. A year after the hearing, I got a letter from Brittany. It came to Bernard's office since she couldn't contact me directly. He called to ask if I wanted to see it. "Read it to me," I said. Bernard opened it. "Dear Mom," he read. "I know I can't talk to you, and I know you probably never want to hear from me again, but I need you to know I'm sorry. I was desperate and stupid and cruel. I convinced myself you wouldn't mind, that you'd want to help me, that I was somehow entitled to your money because I'm your daughter. But I was wrong about everything." The letter continued. "Losing you has been worse than losing the house or the money or anything else. I wake up every day knowing I betrayed the person who loved me most. Austin and I are in counseling. He's getting treatment for his gambling addiction. I'm working 2 jobs to pay you back." Bernard paused. "There's more." She says, "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I want you to know that I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be someone Dad would have been proud of, instead of the person who tried to steal from his widow. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. If not, I understand. I love you. I'm sorry, Brittany." Bernard folded the letter. "What do you want to do?" I thought for a long time. Keep it in her file. Maybe someday I'll be ready to respond. But not today. "That's fair," Bernard said. I thought about that letter for weeks. Part of me wanted to believe Brittany had changed, that losing everything had taught her what really mattered, but I'd learned not to trust easily. Actions mattered more than words. If Brittany was really changing, time would prove it. A year and a half after the hearing, Brittany made her first restitution payment. It was only $800, but Bernard verified the check was legitimate, drawn from her own account, signed properly. She made another payment 2 months later, then another. Small amounts slowly chipping away at the $42,000 she owed. "She's trying," Bernard said. "It'll take her years at this rate, but she's trying." I didn't respond. I just noted it and moved on with my life. I was 70 now, healthy and active, with a life full of purpose. I wasn't going to spend it waiting for Brittany to prove herself. 2 years after the hearing, James called with unexpected news. "Mom, Brittany reached out to me. She asked if I'd be willing to meet her for coffee. She wants to apologize." "What did you say?" I asked. "I said yes. I met her yesterday." James paused. "She's different, Mom. Quieter, humble. She talked about her counseling, about working to pay you back, about trying to repair her life. She didn't ask for anything. She just wanted to say she was sorry for what she did to you and to our family." I felt something shift in my chest. "Do you believe her?" "I think so," James said carefully. "She knows she destroyed your relationship. She's not asking to fix it. She just wants you to know she's working on herself." I sat with that information for days. Finally, I told Bernard to send Brittany a short message. "I received your letter. I see your payments. Keep working on yourself. If you stay on this path for 5 years, we'll talk." Bernard sent it, and Brittany wrote back a single line. "Thank you. I will." I didn't hear from her again for 3 years. She kept making payments, small but steady. She stayed out of trouble, completed her probation successfully, and according to James, continued counseling. Austin got his gambling under control and started working as an addiction counselor himself, helping others avoid his mistakes. I focused on living. I traveled to Europe with a group from my painting class. I learned to play bridge. I started a book club specifically for widows, and we became a tight support system for each other. On my 73rd birthday, 5 years after the hearing, Bernard called. "Helen, Brittany has completed all the requirements for the trust. 5 years of clean record, financial counseling completed, all restitution payments made in full. She's paid back every penny of the $42,000. I was shocked. "All of it?" "All of it. The final payment cleared yesterday." Bernard paused. "She also sent a letter asking if you'd be willing to meet her. Just once in a public place with me present if you want. She says she understands if you say no." I thought about Harold, about his letter, about the daughter Brittany used to be before greed consumed her. I thought about 5 years of steady payments, of counseling, of changed behavior. "Tell her yes," I said. "Miller's Diner, next Tuesday at noon. You'll be there." The day of the meeting, I arrived early and sat in the same booth where Bernard and I had first planned my defense 5 years ago. My hands were steady. I wasn't afraid. Brittany walked in right on time. She was 41 now, and she looked older than her years. Thinner, with lines around her eyes. She wore simple clothes, no jewelry, and her hair was pulled back in a plain ponytail. She saw me and stopped, tears already forming. "Hi, Mom," she said quietly. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me." I gestured to the seat across from me. Bernard sat at the next booth, close enough to intervene if needed, but giving us space. Brittany sat down carefully, like she was afraid of breaking something. "I don't know where to start," she said. "Start with the truth," I said. "Why did you do it?" She took a shaky breath. "Austin's gambling destroyed us financially. I was terrified. We were about to lose everything, and I panicked. I looked at you in this big house with all of Dad's insurance money, and I convinced myself you didn't need it all, that I was entitled to some of it because I'm your daughter." She wiped her eyes. "But that wasn't the whole truth. The real truth is I was jealous. Jealous of James because he never needed your money. Jealous of you because you had stability when my life was chaos. Jealous of Dad because he died and left you everything." Her voice broke. "I wanted what you had, and when I couldn't have it, I decided to take it. I put those cameras in your house to build a case that you were incompetent, and I told myself I was helping you, but I knew I was lying. I knew I was stealing from you." I listened without interrupting. "When you caught me in court," Brittany continued, "when you stood up and revealed you'd known about the cameras the whole time, I felt like my world ended, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me." She looked at me directly. "You saved me, Mom. You stopped me from becoming someone irredeemable." "I didn't save you," I said quietly. "You saved yourself. You made the choice to change, to get help, to pay me back. That was all you." Brittany nodded. "The last 5 years have been the hardest of my life, working 2 jobs, going to counseling, facing what I'd done. But I'm better now. Austin and I are better. We live simply, we don't chase things we can't afford, and we're actually happy." She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "This is the final payment confirmation from Bernard. All $42,000, repaid in full, plus 5 years of completed counseling and clean record." She slid it across the table. "I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm not asking to be in your will or your life. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry, and I'm different, and I'm grateful you didn't let me destroy us both." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't seen in years. Genuine remorse. Real change. "I'm proud of you for doing the work," I said. "That took courage." Brittany started crying again. "I don't deserve your pride. Maybe not 5 years ago," I said. "But you earned it over the last 5 years." I pulled out the trust information Bernard had prepared. "Your father and I set up a trust for you, $10,000. You've met all the requirements. It's yours." Brittany stared at the papers. "I can't take this." "You can," I said. "It's not a reward for stealing. It's a recognition that you changed. Use it wisely." She took the papers with shaking hands. "I will. I promise." We talked for another hour, about her counseling, her jobs, Austin's recovery, about my life, my travels, my book club. It wasn't the relationship we'd had before, and it never would be. But it was honest. When we left the diner, Brittany hugged me carefully. "Thank you, Mom, for everything." "Keep being the person you've become," I said. "That's all I ask." I watched her walk away, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not for what we'd lost, but for what she'd found. That evening, I sat on my porch with a cup of tea, thinking about Harold's letter, about Brittany's cameras, about 5 years of watching my daughter rebuild herself from nothing. I'd pretended not to notice those cameras, and in doing so, I'd saved both of us. I'd protected what Harold and I built, yes, but I'd also given Brittany the chance to hit rock bottom and climb back up. It's been 8 years now since I first spotted that camera behind Harold's photo. I'm 76, still living in my house, still healthy and active. Brittany and I talk once a month. She's back in school, getting a degree in social work. She wants to help other families avoid the mistakes she made. We'll never be as close as we were before she betrayed me. But we're building something new, something based on honesty instead of obligation. And that brass key to my house? I changed the locks years ago. But last month, I had a new key made. I gave it to James, with instructions. If anything happens to me, he knows what to do. Brittany will have to earn trust back one day at a time, just like she's been doing. But she's on the right path. And so am I. The cameras are gone, the threat is over, and I'm finally, truly free.